Hello and welcome to another episode of How the Hell Did I Get Here with Meg and Rachel. Thanks for joining us. Today we have Jesse Jurrens. That's how you say your last name, right?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect. Jesse started Legend Suspensions in 1998 when he first introduced the air suspension system for the Harley-Davidson Softail Chassis. Jesse invented the product and started the company in his parents' basement in Watertown, South Dakota. The company officially incorporated in 2000 and is celebrating 20-year anniversary in 2020. Jesse lives in the Black Hills with his wife Tyna and their children Garet, Cole, Morgan, and Gresen. They enjoy spending their time on two wheels, shocker,
right?
Biking, motorcycling, and any activity that takes them outdoors. Jesse, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're a Watertown kid, huh?
I'm a South Dakota born and raised. Yep.
I'm a Brookings Bobcat, so
Got ya.
we might have to hate each other. I'm not really sure.
We always would beat them, I think.
You always did. It wasn't difficult.
My dad was from Brookings, actually, so we had that feud internally at home as well.
I see. Well, it wasn't that. Couldn't have been that bad because we lost everything. So at least it was a heartbreaking way to grow up, but it was,
You learn how to handle adversity.
That's right. It's part of who
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Well, Jesse, if you would take a moment and kind of tell us the story arc of your career and when you kind of looked up the moment and you said, how the hell did I get here? And what were the parts of that piece of the story? And what do you think is interesting about it?
There's been a lot of those moments, actually, often. And maybe more of a question of how the hell do I go any farther than this? Because when it's roadblock after roadblock, you figure out how to jump hurdles or work around them, dig under them, whatever you have to do. And that is a daily occurrence quite often, weekly for sure, in many different aspects, whether it's personal, whether it's employees and so on. So there's many of those, and those days are still there no matter what for everyone that takes on these ventures. But a lot of my, start and motivation was a bit of fear because I did a little bit of college, not the best high school student, not a good college student. Realized, or personally for me, I realized I should be doing something instead of this. I don't know where this is going to go, but I know what I can control with my two hands in a sense. So that really got me in a position of thinking about and bringing up the subject with my parents that I didn't want to go to college and those kinds of things after I'd already spent a little bit of money and moved and those kinds of things. So at that point, the fear kicks in of what are you going to do? What is your path? And those kinds of things. And that's a hard pressure at a young age. My kids aren't at that age yet. I still think about how do I handle that question? Do you go to college or do you pursue something on your own? It worked for me. It doesn't work for a lot of people. But in that time frame anyway, I realized this is a path that I think I want to try. And so about 96, I think, I started messing with prototypes and some concepts, things like that, and just aligned myself with a lot of people that could help. And that was the beginning. And then like the bio says, I worked a couple of jobs, sometimes 3, and pursued this in the evenings, weekends, anytime that you might be with friends or have any kind of social life. That's when I worked on this. A lot of times while I was at work for other people, I was working on this at times as well, but doing anything I could to make this go a step farther almost on a daily basis. And so through that time frame, my father also found out he was diabetic, lost a leg, had colon cancer, and then died about I'd say a 2 or 3 year window, somewhere in that time frame. So when I say fear is a motivator, in that about 19 or 20, I had an $1,800 mortgage payment that wasn't mine, bills for a household, those kinds of things, and supporting my mother. So that's where I say fear is a huge motivator. There was no plan B. There was no option, other option. And so it almost became an obsession because it had to work. Doesn't mean it generated revenue for a lot of years, but it allowed us to, you gals own business. It still gives you the ability to make those payments. May not be the fattest paycheck or a paycheck at all, but you're making ends meet and you're getting through it. And to me, that was going forward. And so once I got a little taste of blood in the water, I just kept pushing harder and harder. And one of those, it's easier to talk about now, but one of those big turning points for me was my father did pass away in our backyard. And so for about 30 minutes, I did CPR on him until the ambulance came. And it's so surreal at that point when you realize, and he was 55, you realize how quick things can change. That's when I knew, for whatever reason, there's nothing more important to me in this world than getting this business. Part of it was, in a way, I guess, to show myself I could do it. Also, for whatever reason, it just tripped with me that this was something I had to do to almost break through those few minutes in time. So it was more than business for me, absolutely, and still is. So that was the story of getting just started. So many roadblocks along the way. We needed a special type of rubber material, and this is about 4 or 5 years in. Long, greasy hair, and I would take this bike and stuff it in the back of the Suburban that I had with hundreds of thousands of miles, and I showed up at Gates Rubber Company. They had a material that I just absolutely had to have, or my product wouldn't work. So for a year or two, they told me no, asked me to leave their facility a couple of times and so on. I wasn't stocking
No,
them.
really.
No, really, I'm coming back.
Yeah, I made sure to stock them during business hours at their office. So it wasn't anything illegal, but I was persistent because that's what I had to have. So persistence is important. And so over time, I was lucky enough to befriend someone that was about to retire, and he just thought it was cool that I was on fire and, pushing so hard to make this happen. And so on his way out, a couple of weeks prior to retiring, he made me the prototypes I needed that he was told not to make. So along the way, I've had so many people just do that one little thing for me that was such a game changer. He made the product, drove them from the Denver facility, met me in Sturgis, South Dakota in 1998 when I did our first trade show. So I put them together the night before, had a booth, and that was the first time that I really showed it to anyone or put it in the public in any way. Because back then there was only magazines. There was no internet at that time. It's 100 years ago. So
ancient history.
Yeah, right. So that was one of those moments where I guess, how the hell did I get here, or how the hell am I going to go forward? Now I could validate all my tests and prove that this was legitimate. And then it was only about another couple of years of putting the last pieces together and pursuing all the magazines and the right, I guess what today would be influencers, but then just popular people in our industry. So
People that other people want to be like.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, it was so interesting because some of the things that kind of the patterns that, you mentioned fear, but it really feels like at the end of the day, you had to get people to believe.
Oh yeah.
In what?
Because it was a new technology.
Yeah.
It was a new technology. So standing at a trade show or trying to represent yourself in any fashion, it was always, well, that'll fail. Or there's a ton of excuses, put it that way, when there's something that's unknown, whether it's what I make, medicine, vaccines, what have you. There's all these unknowns, and until you get some time in history with the right people and experience under your belt, eventually you overcome that and they start coming your direction, and then it starts coming your direction in waves, which is great. but you have to sell yourself. Literally at a lot of those trade shows, you just stand there and sell yourself over and over and over and over with all no's. So you got to know that it's what you believe in, and you got to know that it does what you say it does. And I took years to prove that to myself. So I didn't have any problem hearing no. I just knew it was a matter of time. I can't make that go any faster, but I can keep doing what I'm doing to get that word to spread. So, and now we're the most popular brand in our segment, and we're beating huge companies that just can't figure out what the hell we're up to and how we do it. But we snuck up on them.
Congratulations. You didn't sneak up on them very, I mean, you weren't trying to be sneaky. You were yelling from the rooftops, but they were smart.
Yeah. One of our large competitors years ago made the comment to a huge company that we both deal with and said, well, we know Legend has that new product coming because it was a new segment for us, but we're not really not that worried about it. And that was all the fuel I needed to take it away. Take it away. They might go out of business soon.
Oh, that'd be too bad, right?
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Oh, that's tough.
Terrible.
That's tough.
Well, you'll be able to hire away some of their best talent then.
That's right.
If
That's
they
right.
haven't. If they haven't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we look at a lot when we work with leaders in any market segment, in any industry, is that we look at how self-driven you are or how much you need team. And that's not to say that you don't value team, because clearly you do, and people.
Yes.
But self-driven people tend to not necessarily need permission to do things that other people say isn't possible. So that seems like kind of a thread that's run through everything, even when you were decided to drop out of college and people are like, dude, how are you going to have a job? How are you going to make payments? And so I guess my question would be, can you think of a time where you tried to do what someone said you were supposed to do? It just didn't work? Or have you always been kind of like, I'm doing my own thing?
I think I've always been that way. Yeah. For whatever reason, I think I've been a few years older than what my actual age is. Somewhere I've got experience under, in my pocket that is unearned, or somewhere it showed up from somewhere.
Previously earned.
It's got to be previous lives. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you believe in reincarnation.
Yeah. Right.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some things you just have a knack for. And I think one of my, over the years looking back, and specifically these last 5, I would say, is if I have a skill set that maybe shines, it is team building. So back to your team question, I do have a good way of getting people motivated and going the direction that we're trying to go, without that micromanaging term, because I know that's one of my traits and I despise it. And I work hard to not have it.
So you think you are a micromanager and you try not to be? Is that what you mean?
Well, I disguise it as laziness, but I do have it because I want to know everything. And that's where having a good team is critical. Mm-hmm. So, because I don't like teams except in this particular pursuit that we're on. I would prefer to do everything alone. I had brothers and sisters, but they were 5 and 10 years older. So they were out of the house before, I was getting to be, say, 10-ish. So I grew up alone basically, and we lived in the country. So forever I've been alone, and I just prefer it that way, I guess. And same with business pursuits or anything else. I really don't want partners. I'd rather have everybody here on this team just be part of the win instead of having outsiders trying to tell us what to do, because we have gained the confidence in ourselves in the last few years. We know what we're doing, and better than most and better than anyone outside that tells us, just because you eat it and you live it and you breathe it. So it's second nature. You're not really thinking about those choices. You just know what to make. So so I like team in that aspect.
Yeah. We've resisted bringing on investors and other because that's a lot of advice you get, right? Is, well, get some money and then you can do this, but then you give up control over your vision.
Not all business is about bottom line. Mm-hmm. That's that much of it. 10% of it's bottom line, in my opinion. But there's investors that think that's the only thing that matters. that isn't what matters to you guys. That's not why you probably started your venture, thinking you're going to load your bank account. I didn't either. If that happens for all of us, great. But that's not why you start. I honestly could not hold a real job. That's one of the big fear things for me is I'm a horrible employee, but to lead, I could do that well. I don't think I could even do it for someone else. I don't know why, but you don't want me working for you, I'll guarantee it.
Yeah, you're self-driven. I got one of those right at
It's-
Mega.
This is why I work.
Same
for
spot
myself.
that you're at, just totally self-driven.
I know. I actually, there was 2 or 3 guys in the arc of my career who worked for me in different places when I was in HR, and I told a couple of them. One in particular really comes to mind. When he came in and quit, and I said to him, you know what? I'm really happy for you because you are an asshole and you shouldn't work for anyone. Because he quit to start his own business. Like he bought a company and was going to go do his own thing. And I said, dude, I hope that you like just rock it and that you never have to get another job because you're a nightmare. Like, you should never work for anyone
Yeah.
again. And there just are
Yeah.
those people. I mean, I'm a nightmare and I'm a freaking business partner. Like, I don't even have a
know, I
boss.
I
I'm a
just
nightmare
want-
to myself.
Keep talking to that. Keep saying
Yeah.
that. It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
You are a nightmare. As long as
I know.
you know, that
Yeah.
helps. It helps when you know,
Yeah.
though, right? Like you're not pretending that you're a normal person.
Yeah. No, not pretend.
It's hard to be honest with yourself on that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Takes
yeah,
time for sure.
yeah. Well, Jesse, we could clearly sit here and talk with you all day. We love speaking with, or speaking sounds so formal. We like to shoot the shit with people who are normal, good salt of the earth South Dakota kids. So really appreciate your story. Best of luck with everything you got going on in your business. And until the next time, folks, lead powerfully.
Change the world.